Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring them out. The wonderful Philip Glenister! Playing Carl Barnes, Patrick Fugit! Ladies and gentlemen, Reg Schmidt! Reg E. Cathey! And the lovely Sheil! Take your seat, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, with the exception of Philip, welcome to London.
Thank you.
You're kind of here every day, buddy. It's kind of like just popping down the road for you, really.
I live here.
I live here. Listen, it's lovely to see you guys. Now, before we get, because no one here has seen the show, no one really knows too much about the show, unless they've been fans of the comic books, but TV is about to change. It really is. It is phenomenal. I've seen 4 episodes, and let me tell you, it really does change the way we look at TV. A lot of people are talking about this film, a lot about talking about the show, you know, coming from the creative mind of The Walking Dead, but this is so much different to that. This is like his mind has taken something else on board and created Outcast. Maybe we can start with you, Patrick. What is a little line about this show that we can tell people, because we can't give away spoilers. It's very difficult.
It is difficult. It's, I mean, one of the things that I enjoy about The Walking Dead, and I think a lot of people do, is that it's about characters. It's about what happens to those characters in different moral situations. And with Outcast, there's a lot of horrific elements, but it is at its heart about these characters and the demons that they have personally. And I think it's quite well done. Robert's done a great job.
It is an incredible show, and I think what's great about it, as you mentioned, it is the character development. It is more about, it's more like psychological drama than it is, hey, let's see some gruesome stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think you go on a journey with these people. Let's get a little bit about your character. Let's start with you, Philip. Tell us a little bit about the Reverend.
Okay, well, I play the Reverend Anderson, and basically he is, I guess, well, he's the Reverend, obviously, and he's kind of a big fish in a small pond. He's a kind of troubled soul, you know. He sees himself, I think he's described as the soldier of God, and he has a past history with Kyle, through what happened with Kyle's mother. And so we go back to when Kyle was a small boy, and I sort of was there kind of for him. So he's kind of like a father-stroke mentor figure. But he basically gave up his family life for this pursuit of the righteousness of his path. So he's estranged from his wife and his only son. And so underneath that kind of brash exterior is a man who's quite troubled, broken, rather lonely soul. That's how I would describe it.
I mean, you do feel like he's got his own demons anyway, don't you?
Absolutely.
He's very much, you know, he's helping Kyle, who's obviously this demonic possession within him. I don't want to give too much away there, but he is, and he's struggling with his own background. But Patrick, tell us a little bit about Kyle.
Well, when we meet Kyle, he's sort of isolated himself in a pretty dark state. He's staying in the house that he grew up in, and he's completely shunned himself from the rest of society. We learned through the first episode that he's just come from a very tumultuous breaking of his family, and he's surrounding himself in darkness because he believes he has something to do with these possessions that are happening in this town.
Wrenn, let's ask you, tell us a little bit about Megan.
Megan Holter. Hi all of you. It feels so strange enough to say hi to you. So I play Megan Holter, who is Kyle Barnes' adoptive sister. She's a child psychologist at a local elementary school. She grew up in Rome, West Virginia. She's lived there her whole life. She's married a very handsome police officer named Mark Holter, who's played by the wonderful David Denman. And at the beginning of the series, Megan is very much the only person in the town that is very much in Kyle's corner. Because something quite catastrophic has happened in his life that doesn't match up with who she knows him to be. So she's kind of the only person that's on his side. She's smart, She has a great sense of humor. She makes a lot of poop jokes in the first episode. She's very concerned with Kyle's bowel movements. Yeah, and she kind of goes on a really big journey on her own. There's quite a lot happening underneath that very strong facade.
She's hot as well. We can say that's fine. We'll move on. Reggie, how are you, sir?
Very well.
Now, before we start, and Reggie tells you a little bit about his character, there's one episode where Reggie's buying barbecue, and the whole world will sit there going, "Put some ribs on it, dude!" And he doesn't, and it's, I don't want to ruin it, but there's no ribs. Reggie, tell us a little bit about the chief.
The chief is the chief of police of Little Rome, West Virginia, and when the darkness starts making itself evident in his town, through his dear friend, the Reverend Anderson, and through the young juvenile delinquent who he's had to deal with in the past, it changes his whole worldview, and he has to come to some decisions about what he's going to do. It's very scary, and it's a lot of fun working with all my boys. So, it's good to be here, London. London rocks!
Caitlin, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about your character.
Sure. I play Allison Barnes, who is the estranged wife of Kyle Barnes. At the beginning of the show, when you meet Allison, she's sort of trying to pull the pieces of her life together after a very catastrophic event and grappling with the fact that she still loves Kyle very much, but has lost a great deal of trust in him. They also have a daughter together, played by Madeline McGraw, and that's sort of the focal point of Allison's life. She just wants to take care of her daughter.
We need to congratulate these guys because, I don't know if you're aware, they got to see, or we got to play, thanks to Fox, on the 20th of May, the episode 1 that you guys are going to get the chance to see very soon, the pilot episode around the world on Facebook. It's never been done before. And you guys broke the internet, basically. I don't even know if I'm allowed to swear, but you top Facebook. How's that feel? Knowing that
Somebody has to.
So great.
Look at the whole of this Comic Con going, I'm friends with it. How does that feel though, knowing that a show that let's be honest, I mean, let's put this down to being real, no one's seen this show yet, no one knows what this show is going to become. And already the buzz around the show is so huge, and I think 3 countries Facebook got kind of crashed and broke. So there's 3 countries in the world going, really? You're not going to show me the end? How's that feel?
It feels spectacular. I didn't even know it was happening. Somebody posted it on my private Facebook wall, and I was like, you got a leaked version of the first episode? And they're like, no, it's just on Facebook. So I had to look. It was alright.
I like the way Patrick goes, yeah, my Facebook's private, buddy. I'm not friending no one. Let's talk about Robert and Robert's work and the creative genius. So, you know, he did change television with The Walking Dead. We all became obsessed with that show. This is nothing like The Walking Dead. So, was it Robert's work that drew you to it? Was it a great script? Was it a director? What was it that made you all go, I want to be part of Outcast?
I mean, it was cast by Lorraine Mayfield out of Los Angeles, who's very supportive of me, and she usually does very exciting projects. So that was my initial entry. And then I didn't know a lot about Robert Kirkman, but then I started reading the first episode, and there's really some great character drama in there. And the horrific elements are quite cerebral, which I appreciated. They're not like jump scares, and they're not really gory scares. They're very unsettling. They're a bit disturbing, and so it just seemed like exciting storytelling.
Okay, for you, what was it that drew you to the role as well? Because yours is quite an interesting role, and I don't know how much again we can give away of what she goes through.
Yeah, there really isn't a great deal that I can say right now, but you know, Allison is not heavily featured in the pilot, which was the first script that I read, and so really what drew me to the project was the team behind it and the writing. All of the characters were so incredibly well observed and well developed that I had the utmost faith that Allison's character would be as well observed actually as well. But yeah, just the chance to play a complicated character.
And Reggie, what was it for you? Did you get to work with Robert Kirkman on this? Did you get to talk about the character and the development? Did you go back and revisit, you know, his incredible comic work?
Well, for like Kay, the chief isn't in much of the pilot, and he's a white guy. And so what drew me to it was Robert. I talked to Robert and Chris Black and Adam Wingard, and so just from that. But Robert Kirkman is like an intellectual bear. He's like this giant guy who's very friendly, very smart. But the best thing that he did was got Chris Black, Howie Deutsch, all the writers. And they're the ones who mostly we dealt with. Robert was like, he would come in and say, hey, man. And so the team, creative team, that's there day to day is the one who really.
In the pilot episode that you guys are going to see very, very shortly, and we're very excited, we've managed to be allowed to play it for you after this. The first episode, we do see possession. There is there's exorcism in the first episode. I don't want to give too much away. But one of the things that someone like Christopher Lee, I had the pleasure of getting to talk to him once, and he said one of the things about doing scary moments in films is what's scary to a viewer is normally the most hilarious, stupid thing to do as an actor. And you're laughing and you can't control it because it's pathetic to you guys, but it looks incredible on screen. What was that moment in episode 1 for you?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, the thing is, when you're working the hours that we were working, which are
2 or 3 a day.
Very long. Yeah, hour and a half. It's exhausting. And it was just you know, basically people say you get paid to act, and actually it's a misdemeanor. You get paid for waiting around. The acting is free, basically. So the amount of time that we would spend waiting around, we just used to just mess around and do impressions. I taught Patrick some northern sayings.
Yorkshire.
Say Yorkshire.
Oh, fucking bag of shite.
Bag of shite.
Not allowed to say that.
And then we used to also, the other thing we used to do, Patrick does a fantastic Tom Cruise impression. Oh! Seriously good Tom Cruise impression. And I do a little okay Michael Caine. And so we used to rehearse our scenes and think, well, what would Michael and Tom, how would they play this? So we used to rehearse as Tom Cruise and Michael Caine.
Which we cannot ask another question now without having that experience ourselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Cruise and Michael Caine practicing a scene from Outcast.
Sure, yeah, you go ahead.
Excuse me. Right, the thing is, Tom, right, I'm looking at the scene, and there's too much dialogue, and I think I could do it with a look. What do you think?
Yeah, sure, you do the look, I'll take my shirt off.
No, you're all right. I don't need you to take your shirt off.
That's great.
I used to take my shirt off at one time. Trust me. I used to be a big star. Just don't forget it, right? Now I've just played butlers, but that's okay because they pay me with fortune.
Obviously, season 2 has that. Yeah. Did, obviously, being an incredible British actor yourself, did you teach any of the other cast anything? Because somehow I feel I want to hear the ladies do some Yorkshire.
I did teach them how to make a cup of tea.
Oh, did you properly?
Because believe it or not, the Americans have got, I love them to bits, but they've got a clue how to make a decent cup of British builder's tea.
You know there are 4 along the line here, buddy?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Firstly, rule number 1, you don't put cream in tea. No. Number 2, you don't use lukewarm water. That's in the style of Smart Attack, lukewarm water. So I had to, I taught them how to make a good old cup, proper cuppa.
Proper cuppa.
And they also told me that I had to have cheese with everything.
It's true.
In the morning, it'd be like cup of tea, cheese. Yeah.
And Reg taught everyone to make ribs.
And laugh. Reg has got the best laugh in the entire world.
Let me ask you down the line, what is it that you feel sets Outcast apart from other TV shows? Because you know what, I think TV, and many people have talked about this for a while now, TV has had a resurgence in the way that, TV has taken over movies now. we want more character development, we want to, you know, spend more time with these incredible characters. What is it about the characters in Outcast or the show itself that you think is the reason why it broke Facebook and it's about to become a phenomenon? Start.
Well, it's a cool combination of storytelling themes to be a part of. You have a possession, which is very genre, and horror, but there's also these characters that you grow to care about quite a bit, and they're all sort of facing their own personal demons while these possessions of actual demons are happening within the town. And it's an exciting combination because, you know, obviously if it's just possessions all the time, every episode, all episode long, and it's dreary. But you get some nice interactions and some cool character stuff.
Well, I think one of the great things about this is always in the writing and the storytelling for me. And we happen to have an amazing mind in Robert Kirkman. I love the way it's announced. It's from the mind of Robert Kirkman, not the pen or anything, it's just from the mind, which is interesting. And I think the great thing is all the characters are incredibly nuanced. You know, even the smallest character, people are coming in to do a guest part in an episode, everything's thought through. And I always think that's very exciting. It means that the writers and showrunners and etc. really care about the project and really want it to be strong. And I think if you've got a good story and strong characters, then you're sort of halfway there.
What was it for you, Wrenn? What do you think Outcast is going to do to change TV?
Well, I mean, I would echo everything that Phil and Patrick have said, but I also think something that Outcast does in a lovely way, and I feel like you're actually starting to see more and more of it in television, which is really exciting for me, is that there are strong female characters that are not dependent on male storylines. They're definitely interwoven, but it's one of the first times that I felt like a character that I've been playing. I mean, not the first time, but I would say in television maybe more than theater. It hasn't been my experience to play a character that has agency of her own. I mean, I once had an experience on a really, really great show where I said to a writer, I think she says this because of this, and he's like, no, actually you say this so he can say this after. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I really love the fact that both Kate and I play really incredibly nuanced and complicated, interesting ladies. And I think Melinda McGraw, who plays Patricia, which is Phil's love interest, she's got quite an interesting story. Yeah, and I feel like there's more of that in television, but there's not enough of it yet.
But it's changing.
Yeah, it's changing, but there could be more. Yeah. So I'm really excited to be part of a project where that's a big component.
What about for you, Reg E? Was there something that you feel about this show that is just so different? I mean, obviously, you know, working on things like House of Cards, which is another intense TV show that you're churning out. You've got to get those episodes done. But what is it? You know, House of Cards changed the way we watch TV. What will Outcast do?
It's really like, as I said before, the character development, but it's really scary. You will be frightened, and it will interrupt your sleep, and you'll dream of dark things.
Who else feels we learned a little bit more about Reg E than we should have, right? Maybe just a little bit. Kate, what is it for you? I mean, was it your character? And do you feel that, you know, the female actresses are getting more, you know, better shows, and it's pushing those characters more forward now?
Sure, I think that it's a constant evolution and that there are more complicated and great parts for women now, but there always could be more, and I'm also very excited to be part of a show that is portraying, nuanced female characters and strong female characters. But for me, I mean, to echo all of my castmates, I just think the writing and the acting on the show is very impeccable, and so the horror elements feel very earned and are even more deeply terrifying than they otherwise would be.
And also, Reggie pointed this out to me earlier. Why does the demon never come out in the day? People like, people only possess people at night. It's just evil. Why do it in the daytime when we're all a little bit more relaxed? Does anyone have a question? Oh, hello, look at him. Dressed as a Wookiee. Oh, he's not, he's just got hair. It's hard to tell here, isn't it? It's very hard to tell. Hello, so what's your name? John, who's your question for? And far away, mate.
So the other day, my friend was like, "You go watch a show." She's in America, so it's already aired. And she sent me the one scene, I think it's near the beginning, with Kyle as a kid, with the cockroach. And yeah, I don't like creepy kids, so I did not sleep. But was that really intense to film? That scene, like the whole scene when he goes down the stairs as well?
I think a lot of us run around for that, but that was a young actor by the name of Gabriel Bateman, who is an intense individual. He's a bright, scorching ball of light. He's extremely talented, but he does everything as though it is like his life is on the line. Like he goes 100% every take. It's crazy, and he gave himself whiplash. Smashing that bug over and over, like actual whiplash, like the injury whiplash. Wow, he's an intense dude.
He's currently suing the.
Yes.
Looking forward to making a lot of money.
I'm slightly more interested, buddy, how she sent that file to you in the in terms of illegal download. It wasn't illegal. No, I'm joking, but we will get your details on the way out. Killing television. Oh wow, hello sir. Are you part of the Rebel Alliance? Or just a traitor? What's your question?
My question is, first of all, Patrick, I'm a big fan of you. I saw you in Almost Famous. That was the only reason I watched the first episode. Thanks to you. And I have a question for you. What do you think makes Outcast special from other TV horror series like Damien or...
Right. Thanks, first of all. Thanks a lot. One of the things that I really like about Robert Kirkman's storytelling, particularly in Outcast, is he's able to take things that we find familiar within the genre, storytelling mechanics or tropes that we all recognize, but he and the writing team sort of use them to shift the perspective. So as an audience, we think we know what's going to happen and then something else happens. So rather than like trying to reinvent the way we look at possessions, they use these templates that are already in place to sort of shift the perspective on you, which is a cool way of doing it. It's something he did similarly with The Walking Dead that I liked a lot. Some of the perspectives on the monsters or the zombies or the demons are, twisted.
I think as well, and something you guys have touched on many times, is that this show feels, I know we keep saying this, it's so much more of a character developed show as opposed to a horror show. As Reg said earlier, it's some very scary bits, particularly in episode 1. As you go down those episodes, and God bless you've only let me see 4, you do discover that the horror comes from their backgrounds and what they're going through, as opposed to evil monster, see some blood. And I think that's what's really beautiful about this show for me.
I think what Patrick said earlier, saying that it's not so much the scary factor, it's just disturbing, unsettling.
It's just uncomfortable in places.
Can I actually also give a shout out to Atticus Finch, who does all of the scoring for the
Atticus
show?
Ross.
Or Atticus Ross, sorry. Atticus Finch is from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah. Well, shout out to him too.
He'd have loved it.
But the music for the show, particularly for the opening, is so unsettling. It's incredible.
I mean, it goes back to what we said earlier, those moments that are really funny when you're filming them, but actually they look really quite uncomfortable on screen, and sometimes that's very much down to score, so fantastic job. Let's get another question. Do we have any more questions?
Hello. Hi, mate. How are you?
How are you? Look, we'll talk later, it's awkward, I can't date you, I've got a girlfriend, it's awkward. But anyway, carry on.
You wish.
Yeah, it's true, it's very true.
As a child, my parents were quite, not neglectful, but they let us watch a lot of horror movies growing up. And demonic possession is something that particularly freaks me out. What scares you particularly?
Empty chairs. Like I can't sleep in a room that has an empty chair in it. I either have to tuck it in or I put some shoes in or something, so that if something invisible was going to sit in the chair, it would have to move whatever's in the chair. So I'll put like a notebook or something like, what are you gonna do about that? But yeah, they freak me out really bad.
I don't like jellyfish.
No,
like anything else in the ocean, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But jellyfish, not a fan of those. And I actually have a recurring nightmare where I'm driving a car with a friend and we go up on a bridge and all of a sudden we're flying because the middle of the bridge has been taken away. And that's quite scary. Yeah.
It's funny, I really don't have, I guess, any. I mean, I guess the biggest fear is like unemployment. Empty paycheck. Or empty chairs kind of thing.
When I was growing up, there was a room like at the top of the flight of stairs going to where the bedrooms were, and it was usually empty. We kept, stored stuff in there, and that doorway was the most terrifying thing to me in the world, and I would run past it anytime I had to go in that direction. But other than that, deep sea and outer space, too big.
I don't like clowns. Yeah, clowns kind of freak me out. I don't like heights particularly. I don't like snakes. I don't like Donald Trump. I could go on.
We should have started with that question. Do we have time for one more?
Yes.
I'm going to be really honest, right? There's a lady over here somewhere that's supposed to be telling me when we're supposed to stop, because otherwise we're all going to be here all day. We'll just keep showing the website. But there's a really bright light, so we have no. Oh, now they're all waving. Shut their face. Can we have one more? Yay! Just you. What are you dressed as? Because we can't quite see you.
It's an anime thing. It's like on Titans now.
Okay, after you've asked your question, would you just run in front of the stage for everyone here?
Yes.
Question first, go for it.
Okay, mine's for Philip. Compared to Ji-Hun from Life on Mars, Smashes Flashes, how intense is your character?
Sorry, compared to
Ji-Hun.
Ji-Hun. Okay. Well, he's. I think he's more intense in many respects. I think about Ji-Hun, he was meant to be a very sort of dinosaur figure from the 1970s, but I don't think the writers realised quite how good at comedy they were as well. So I kind of had a lot of fun playing the lighter side of Ji-Hun. Otherwise, I think he would have been a bit one-dimensional, a bit boring. Whereas playing the Reverend, it's over 10 episodes and not really knowing where your character is going, which was quite nice to be kept in the dark. There was always that underlying what's going to happen next. And as the series progresses, he has some very big moments that sort of spring up. So it was the challenge of playing the complexities of the man and trying to keep him real. That's the main thing. It's always trying to play the truth and try to keep him real. And it would have been a bit dull if he'd just been doing exorcism of the week sort of thing. So it was a challenge, but it was one I really enjoyed doing. And he's a great character, and lovely working with all these lovely people. Who welcomed me with open arms. Thank you.
And they are all lovely people. You can see the show exclusively on Fox on the 7th of June at 10 p.m. But don't worry, because you're going to see it right now. We are going to give you the pilot episode just before we do. Let me tell you, if you go up to the Fox booth, by the way, you can all have free comics. That should have been a much bigger round of applause for it. Free comics! Look at Phil going, I was going to put those on eBay in an hour. And also, what we've got up there as well, which is absolutely incredible, and it will become much more clearer when you've seen the show. You can go up there and you can go to the Fox booth, and you can literally go to Kyle's house and be levitated. It's happening.
Right. Yeah.
It's happening. It's incredible. You are going to absolutely love it. And of course, you're going to get a piece of cake. Ladies and gentlemen, you are going to